welcome back, guys. Good to be back here again, chatting with Andre Snyman again. Part 2. Andre, we left off on the 96 Test series, and obviously everything, the change of coaches there and some of the bit of the turmoil in South African rugby. But 97 was another year that was very interesting, and Test series against the British and Irish Lions, which to me still ranks, that Test in Durban probably ranks as probably one of the worst days in my rugby writing career. I didn't quite enjoy that one, but you were part of that squad. Just maybe let's start with the Lions too. I mean, it was good.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, 97 was once again was a roller coaster. You know, we just came off the 96, the whole turmoil with Andre Markgraf and everything, and then obviously he got replaced by Carl du Plessis. You know, and Carl, what a great man. You know, he was a great coach, a great player. And so, yeah, there was a lot of changes. And then Carl brought in a lot of new players, a lot of youngsters coming up through the ranks. So, yeah, so since the 95 World Cup Springbok team, you know, within 2 years, that team has changed dramatically. So it was quite interesting. Yeah, we're all excited, you know. I mean, not a lot of players get the opportunity to play against the British and Lions in their career, you know, because it only comes to that country, every 12 years, I think it is. You know, so some players don't last, their career doesn't last that long. But, yeah, going into that Test series with a new coach, a lot of new players, a lot of players playing out of position. And that, to me, a lot of people say to me, oh, why did you guys lose the Test series and everything? So, but I think a lot of people don't understand what actually happened, because you got to understand it's a new coach or coaching staff. And then the whole team has changed. You know, you got a new captain, you got a new team playing players out of position. I mean, they played me on the wing. Percy Montgomery played in center. You know, that's just two examples. And so there was a lot of players out of position. A lot of players there was no cohesion in the team. Players never played together. There was no real build up to the Test series. Even the 96, the team that played in 96 compared to 97 was a big change. So it's a brand new team that started. Yes, now you can compare that with the British Irish Lions. They're also a bunch of guys that just got together a month or two before the tour and they started playing together. So yes, compare apples with apples, pretty much in the same boat. But the problem with us is, like, every team, every Test we played was a different team. I think there was only 4 players. I think it was myself, Joost, Os, and Mark Andrews. I'm stand to be corrected. The 4 of us were the only players in the starting lineup every game. So, you know, if you think about it, 11 players every Test changing. That's significant. You know, it makes a huge difference in the rhythm of the team. So a lot of people don't understand that every Test was a different team. And I think that was one of the Achilles heels of what we had in that series, is the fact that every team was different. Players didn't trust each other because we never played together long enough to trust each other. You know, and then obviously it all came down to the Durban Test. You know, we lost the first one. And I think the Durban Test, we almost tried too hard to win it. We made silly errors. I think it was Dawson's try in the corner, where 4 guys, he dummied over his head with the ball in the corner, you know, off a scrum. It should have never happened. And then obviously, you know, Jeremy Guscott drop goal that right at the end as well. But yeah, luckily we played for pride in the 3rd Test in Johannesburg. We won that one, but once again, the Lions didn't really have anything to play for because they already won the series, and we had everything to play for because we wanted to at least walk away with that one victory. You know, so yeah, it was a tough Test here. It was really enjoyable. It was a historic moment in a lot of players' lives, but unfortunately we lost the Test series, and you know, there was a lot of turmoil, a lot of bitching and moaning in the team about a lot of things. You know, the media, I remember poor Percy Montgomery really had a tough time with the media. I'll never forget, there was a cartoon at the back of the can't remember if it was the Beeld or the Report, with Carl du Plessis standing there with a big dart, and you know, and then the basically picking his team, and he was aiming at a dartboard, and then the players' names were on the dartboard, and the bullseye was this big, and it said Percy Montgomery, so Carl couldn't miss the bullseye, so it was all those kind of things. The media was ripping us to pieces in terms of favoritism, Carl picking players, that's obviously favoritism and stuff like that. It was really an emotional series, actually, from selection point of view, team spirit. But it's just, a lot of us, we walked away there with character building, and we just had to move forward. Unfortunately, we lost the series. We wish it was different.
Andre, I've spoken to quite a lot of guys who were in your team during that year, and a lot of them didn't have very good things to say about Carl. There were two exceptions. Smiley Swanepoel said something quite recently, actually, where he said that Carl was on the right track, and the late Jos van der Westhuizen also rated Carl. I'm very interested as a back, because look, I mean, Carl had no coaching experience, and that was his big downfall. But he came in preaching a very different template. And was it a case that Carl wasn't the right coach, or was it a case that you couldn't make the changes he wanted, the fundamental changes he wanted to make to Springbok rugby? And in the series against the Lions, I mean, it was a massive series.
Yeah,
it was the wrong time to do that.
Correct. I mean, very valid points. I mean, it's like I say, Carl was a great player. He's got a brain. He understands the game. He's got a brain for rugby. From my point, and I can only speak from my point, I mean, he was very technical. He was a very technical coach, and I think that was maybe his downfall, that he was too technical. And I don't think he struggled to, like you said yourself, his experience as a coach, was maybe lacking. And then going straight into a test series against the Lions, compared to the opposition coach, I think he was way underweight. He was boxing way above his weight, going into a test series with the amount of experience that he had, with a brand new team. I don't think he really had the trust of the senior players. And the other thing is, by no means is he, how can I put this without sounding contradictory? I think he struggled to bring his message across to the players, what he was trying to achieve, and how he wanted to coach. I think it was different. The players was like, okay, hang on, what's going on here? I think he struggled to get his message across, and how to link what he had in his mind, how to play the game, and how the players were, played the game at the time, and the backs and the forwards. And I just think there was a lot of loose ends, and he couldn't connect the dots because of his lack of experience. But I mean, he was a brilliant coach, brilliant man. I just think he lacked a coaching experience. And unfortunately, going into a test series against the Lions, no experience, new team, it was just a recipe for disaster, unfortunately, but I think, given the chance, if he had more experience, I think we could have seen a different kind of rugby style being played, because he wanted to play more of a elusive running kind of rugby, because that's the way he played his game. But at the time, it was very much forward dominated, headed up with the forwards, and then if there's an opportunity, then go with the backs, where he wanted to just swing the ball left and right and play almost like a touch game kind of thing. And the forwards were like, hold on a second, we don't feel comfortable with this. So that's where the misconnection, the disconnection, the backs, the forwards, and then, like I say, the key thing, I repeat myself, players out of position. I mean, that to me was the key. I mean, yes, of course, I played on the wing. I've got a bit of speed. I can carry the ball. But you know what? It's not my preferred position. But because it's a Springbok jersey, you will wear it and you will play in that position no matter what. But it was not my preferred position. Felt a little bit uncomfortable playing there. So it's something that I had to adapt to. My positional play on the wing, if I look back at it, wasn't perfect. A lot of times I was caught out of position as a winger because I wasn't experienced enough to play on the wing. I could help out, I could make it work, but I wasn't a specialized winger. I was a specialized outside center. And I think that's where Carl, the disconnection came in, as an example. Percy being a specialized fullback, all of a sudden being a center. and that just shows you the disconnection, the inexperience of a coach, trying new things against the British Lions. You don't do that. You try new things against smaller countries or warm-up tests or something like that. You don't do it in a test series. You don't try and experiment in a test series. No, that's just lack of experience.
And there was also a fundamental flaw in the game, I seem to recall, in the sense that you had Henry Honeyball, who was, throughout his career, a very sort of direct fly half. He stood close to the gain line. He took the ball up.
Yeah.
I got the impression that series, and it was confirmed to me by players, that he was sort of being encouraged by Carl to play a game that was very different to his DNA. He had to line deep.
No, absolutely. I mean, once again, it brings me back playing players out of position as well as changing players and telling them how to play. So if like you say, if Henry is a aggressive going forward fly half, why did you pick him if you want to play more of a passive game ball distributor? If you want to play a passive game ball distributing fly half, then pick one like that. You don't pick an aggressive fly half that wants to attack the gain line if you want to play a ball distributing game. No. And I think the reason why he chose Henry at the fly half is because of his defense. That's the reason why he selected Henry in the starting lineup at fly half for defensive reasons. And I think he missed the point in terms of choosing Henry as a distributing fly half. Yes, he could distribute, but it's not his strength. His strength was going forward with the ball, attacking. That was his strength. So that just shows you, once again, the lack of understanding the players, connecting with your players as a coach. You need to know what makes your player tick, what's the strength and the weaknesses of your player, and then that's how you select your team for the particular game plan that you would like to play. And I think that's where Carl missed it. He missed the boat, picking a fly off that's aggressive, but he wants to play a more of a sevens game, sit back, move the ball until you get an opportunity, then attack, so that's like you say, that's what happened, unfortunately.
Funnily enough, one of the best games I saw you guys play in the Coral era, with the exception, of course, of his very last one, which was the one at Loftus, a whole different kettle of fish. One of the best games I saw you guys play was actually against the All Blacks in the first game of the TriNations that year at Ellis Park. And if I remember correctly, Yanni was a fly half, Yanni de Beer. And it was a whole different setup there. I mean, you guys came very close to winning that game. And if you had won that game, maybe there would have been confidence and maybe it could have turned out differently.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, like you say, Yanni is a great fly half, but Yanni is more of a tactical fly half. He'll kick you into the corners, he'll ball distribute. Yes, he'll attack when the opportunity is there, but he was more of a sit back, read the situation, fly half, and then act. So yeah, did we win that game? We probably would have gained more trust in each other, trust in the system, trust the coaching. But Rome is not built in a day, and it's a tough job for a coach to come in and be that wonder coach, and make the team different. They say, a new broom sweeps clean, but you never know. You got to have the trust of the players. The players have got to trust each other. It's not just a one-way street. It goes both ways. The coach towards the players and the players towards the coach. If you have that bridge, and I know we're going to probably talk about that. And I think that is why Nick Mallett was such a successful coach with the team that he had at the time, is because he managed to get that bridge or that relationship between player and coach. I think he had a great balance there. And that is why that team, or those after the Carl du Plessis era, that's why it was so successful.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, sorry. I was going to just talk about the Lions. I was still on the Lions there, but I was going to say you jumped ahead, Gav. But the whole thing to me was another factor in that Test series was the goal kicking. Because if I remember right, you guys in the second Test, I think you outscored the Lions 3-0, but just couldn't get a kick over. I think it was Russell Bennett in that second.
Yeah, it was. It was Russell, and then it was Eric Libber. Yeah. He was also playing at centre. Came in for his kicking, and then it was Yanni. And it was Percy. At the end of the day, there was a standard joke. It's like, just give the ball to Ollie, just give the ball to Os, just give the ball to anybody, just anybody that can kick. You know, it was just like atrocious, our goal kicking at the time. You know, did we have a more stable or better goal kicker in the team? You know, the test could have been differently. The series could have been different. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, you got to perform in the moment. And that's unfortunately what we couldn't. Our kickers couldn't perform in the moment, which is just one of those things, you know. So we can't hold it against them. You know, I mean, for sure, I wouldn't point fingers at a goal kicker and say, oh, we lost the test series because of your kicking. Because, I mean, if I had to do it myself and put myself in his shoes to make that kick, you know, I don't know if I would have made it because I'm not a kicker. But, you know, so it's horses for courses. You know, if you want to be a kicker in the team, you got to take the pressure with it.
I was going to say, that's a great, I was actually in the online sports quiz the other night, and that was one of the trivia questions. I thought it was a great trivia question, was who scored the first points in the 97 first test with a penalty and then never played for the Springboks ever again after that? And it's Edric. And it's, it's a great trivia question. I mean, terrible for him, but
yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, I think he came in for the Durban test, the last test. He just literally just came in for that one test, and unfortunately, we never saw him again. You know, which is sad. You know, it's like I think there was a stat. I don't know what the stat was. I mean, the amount of new Springbok caps that was issued in that era, '97. You know, it was just ridiculous. Literally, there was a standard joke: if you walk past the stadium with a Springbok kit bag, they'll select you. You know, so it was sad. It was sad to know that's what the people think of what Springbok selection is. You know,
that Gavin mentioned it now. That game at Loftus, the 61-22 Coral's last game, where everything just seemed to click. I don't know for you, I heard after that game, some of the Australian players told me they were in a very different space at that stage as well. Their coach Greg Smith wasn't very popular, and he got fired after that as well. But it was almost as if they wanted to send a message, and they weren't at their best anyway, and everything clicked for you guys. Did you get the same sort of sense, or was it more than
no?
I mean,
for you guys? I can't comment on that and say it is. It's the first time I hear of that. But you know what? We did know that there's turmoil in the Australian camp because of the coaching and all that stuff, you know, but it brings me back, you know, so there was obviously issues with their coach and the team. It brings me back to that relationship between a coach and the team. And maybe they did send a message that way, or maybe they just decided, you know what, we don't care. Win or lose, you know, we want to try and get rid of him potentially. I don't know, but you know, I mean, all we knew was that yes, they have a bit of ripples in the camp. You know, there was ripples on Golden Pond, but what exactly it was, we didn't know. But you know, so the message, once again, you know, all we could do is just focus on our game. You know, we went out there and like you say, everything just clicked. You know, everybody was running good lines. Everything was just. It was like a dream captain's run, you know, no balls dropped. You know, everybody was making their tackles. Everybody was in the right position at the right time, you know, and it's like a snowball, you know, and I think Australia was just like, okay, hang on a second. They were trying to compensate and trying too hard to stop us. And then they made mistakes and we exploit them. So, but yeah, potentially, I mean, it just shows you if there's ripples in the camp, it comes down to, it shows in the results.
Well, what I remember about that game was I remember Australia obviously didn't have much to play for, and they were playing on the half-felt where they hate playing. We all know that they've got a terrible record there. But it was actually quite a close game up to a point. And then it was almost like I got the feeling that once they fell more than a score behind and the Springboks went ahead, it was almost like it wasn't. I don't think they were making a statement against the coach. It was almost that like they fell apart then psychologically because they were they were then outplayed. And having spoken to some of the other, you know, some of the senior players who were guarding the team that day, like Mark Andrews and those guys, they've all told me, and Gary Teichmann, of course, the captain, they said that we just went out that way to play it our way. We didn't have all that Coral stuff in our head.
No, exactly. That's what I was saying. At the end of the day, that we as players, that's all we did. We just focused on us and focused on the game, you know, because we knew after that, you know, in our camp, there was rumors that Carl was going to get sacked and all that stuff. So we just decided, once again, like the Andre Markgraf situation, we as players, we can't get involved. It's decisions out of our control. We just have to focus on what we can control, which is our performance on the pitch. And I think that's where guys like Mark and Joost and Gary and the senior players, that's where they held the team together and made us stay together as a team and focus on the team, and do not let the outside factors like coaching and selection and what have interfere with us, and just go out there and play and enjoy ourselves, and I think that's what happened. We just stuck together as a team, and we just bonded and said, come hell or high waters, we're doing it for ourselves.
You then went on. I mean, you onto your third coach, and by that stage, your short Springbok career, your third coach by then. But
I had about 7 of those.
But that was the start of a dream run there with Nick Mallett. I mean, there's 17 games there.
Yeah.
What did Nick? I mean, we've spoken to a couple of guys, obviously, about the difference in that. What did Nick do that was right, or that got it right so quickly after Coral?
I think for me personally, or I can just talk from my own opinion. I think Nick brought passion to the team. He brought passion to the coaching because he was a passionate coach. He'll throw the F-bomb every now and again on the rugby pitch, and that we related to that as players. We related to his passion. We related to his language that he was using on the coaching field, and we could see that. And he basically made us believe in ourselves. He made us believe as a team that we are the best. As an example, if you got an injury, yes, you go out of the team, the reserve takes your place. And then when your injury is healed and you're back, you go straight back into your position. It's not like a fight. I have to fight for my position again, or something like that. We knew exactly who the starting 15 was. We knew who the reserves were. We didn't question anything. Everybody knew where they are with Nick Mallett. He was very straightforward. He didn't beat around the bush. And he made us believe in ourselves. And that to me was the biggest thing, is that even if you played a bad game, he'll come to you and he'll say to you, you had a bad game, but this is all the positives. I need you to focus on this, let's try this. It's not just, oh, you had a bad game, sorry, you're out, next one in. He'll actually work with you and say to you, listen, let's pick it up the next game. And even if you have 2 bad games in a row, it's not like he's just going to drop you. He's giving you a fair chance. He understands that you can't always perform at 100%. Sometimes you're going to have a bad game, and sometimes you're going to have an excellent game. And I think he understood that, and he basically worked with us, and he coached us, and he made us believe that, yes, you're going to have a bad game this time, but let's try and work harder so it doesn't happen again, if you know what I'm saying. And that made him a good coach. He made us believe in ourselves. And the other thing is consistency. He was very consistent. He didn't make a lot of changes in his team. Like I say, if you had a bad game, he's not going to just chop you and put another person in. He was very consistent in his team selection. That team went forward, like you said, 17. I would love to see the stats, how many players have changed within that 17 games, from the initial team, how many changes we've made, via injury or lack of performance. I don't think the stats will be a lot. And that is what made him successful, is he was passionate, straightforward, honest with the players. He was a good guy, crack a joke or two. We understood his language. His message was very clear how to play. It was simple. And that's why I think he was so successful, or we as a team, coaches included, were so successful.
Funnily enough, what you're talking about is probably what might have tripped him up in the end, because he did start making changes later on, and that's where he started going pear-shaped when he Red Benter and that interview tour.
But those changes were made not because of him. There was political changes being forced upon him, sorry to say this, via the media, about Bobby Skinstad coming through the ranks and being this young player, needs a chance. Yes, Bobby was a good player. But was he better than Teichmann? I don't know. Bobby was an impact player for sure. He was great off the bench. And eventually he would have had his time. It would have come. I mean, and Taj would have sort of stepped down, and Bobby would have taken over. But I think that decision was forced upon Nick Mallett via pressure from the media, the public, and unfortunately, he crumbled, and he made that decision. And then all of a sudden, people were questioning, hold on a second, Gary, there's nothing wrong with Gary. Why are you doing this? And I think that, unfortunately, that whole, Gary-Bobby situation was potentially handled wrong. And he was put under pressure. And as you said, that the fact that he made those changes, basically cost him, and it cost the team, because all of a sudden the team started doubting his coaching and decision-making. And all of a sudden there's ripples on pond, and then it causes problems.
Going back to that first tour, that 97 tour, I was on that tour as a journalist, and it was amazing. I mean, you smashed everybody. You smashed France 52-10. And there were some fundamental changes that Nick made, both in the selections and also to the way they were playing. For a start, he brought Henry back, Henry Honeyball, to play his game. And I think a very significant selection. Unfortunately, the guy got injured after that. But a very significant, right at the end of his career, Dick Muir got to wear the number 12 jersey alongside you. And he was a very good communicator with Henry. And I think that was probably a great way to bring Henry through as well. Would you agree with that? And then also, of course, moving Percy to fullback, which is his position rather than centre.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you look at the team selections, I mean, he brought me back to outside centre. He brought Henry Honeyball back. And then the centre, you use Dickie Muir, Peter Miller. So if you look at it, it's physical players. It's players that play very similar. If you look at Henry Honeyball, aggressive going forward. Peter Miller, aggressive going forward. Myself, aggressive going forward. So and that was his game plan, is to be aggressive going forward, attacking the gain line. And then you have your finishers on the end, your Peter Rousseaus, your Brayton Paulses, your Percys. You've got your outside speedsters, and then also the connection with Henry and Peter and Dickie. They all played for Natal, So once again, they understand each other. They play off each other, So and that's where what I spoke earlier on is that cohesion, understanding each other, trusting each other, the players. And I think that made a huge difference with Henry back, Peter back, myself. First of all, it's a great defensive lineup where we were really solid in defense. And then on attack, we were pretty solid on attack as well, the three of us. To your point, it was definitely it made a huge difference.
Okay. Your first visit to New Zealand would have been with that game where I think it was Andre Fenter got sent off. If I remember, Ruben got injured, 55-35. Gary Teichmann told me you guys arrived late because it was so badly, the management was so poor that you arrived like 20 minutes or half an hour before the game started. What was it like? You played in that game where you guys got really quite badly beaten. I mean, the score was actually, it almost flattered you guys that you got 35. And then a year later, you won at Athletic Park. I mean, it was a huge turnaround. I mean, just tell us about that. I mean, that must have been an amazing feeling.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the rivalry between Springboks and All Blacks is great. I mean, it's always there. It's always a big game, butterflies all over the place. Going to Eden Park, it just, the writing was against the wall. We rushed this way and rushed that way. And it was literally, we got to the stadium and we literally had to run into the change room, put our boots on and get on the pitch. So it was mismanagement a little bit there, and then getting onto the game, we weren't warm up properly. Ruben Kruger broke his ankle. Andre Fenter got sent off for a punch, or I think it was a punch or something. All of a sudden you play against 14, you down one guy, you 14 against 15. You've got a star in Ruben Kruger, a ball fetcher, hard nose. To counteract the New Zealanders, I think it was Josh Kronfeld. So it's, Josh was a pretty good player, and the only one of the players that could actually handle him was Ruben. Ruben was right there in his face the whole time. All of a sudden, you lose that key player. All of a sudden, you use the wall horse on Andre Fenter, a ball carrier, defender. Not that I say the reserves didn't do a good job, but it causes, unsettle in the team. It causes a bit of shake-up. New guys coming off the bench, getting into the game, nerves. It just, it's not the ideal situation to be in. So unfortunately we lost. We were like deers in headlights of that game with everything that happened. And then it was revenge. We came back the following year. I mean, not that we revenged with the scoreboard. If you look at the scoreboard, it wouldn't say that. But it was a really hard-fought game, very cold, muddy game. And Peter Rousseau's try under the sticks was just magic. It was just one of those magic tries. We called the move at the right time. Where we haven't done that move for a long, long time, so nobody knew about it. Nobody saw it. We didn't want to show our hand, and we decided, right, we have to do it right now. Now is the right opportunity. And we did it, and it came off, and Peter scored under the post, and I think the score was like 9-6 or something like that. It was a really, really close score. It was brilliant. It was just to basically, I don't want to call it revenge. It's just to like get one back, and just say, okay, fine. We can win in New Zealand. It's not just gloom and doom, so we can win there. And it meant a lot for the team as well.
It was our first post-isolation win in New Zealand as well.
Yes.
I remember being quite emotional after that game.
I know it was like I said, I think we tried to celebrate, but you're so, like, wow, what just happened, and I remember James Small, and after the game, we were standing in the hotel. We had our Kontiki or kangaroo court, whatever you want to call it, and he would stand up and he would be crying, and he'll grab his blazer and he'll hit his chest, and he'll grab his badge on his chest and the blazer, and he'll just say, this is what we play for, boys, and this is what we die for. And, it meant a lot to us, although we didn't jump up and celebrate with champagne and stuff, but inside each and every player, we were just like, wow, okay, we did it. It was just more of a relief than a celebration.
And then, of course, you built further confidence by going on and claiming the TriNations in South Africa in your next two games. But one, of course, was that magnificent come from behind game in Durban against the All Blacks.
Durban, yeah, that was brilliant. Australia. I mean, that once again, with that game being said, I mean, just after halftime, I think I was replaced with Franco Smith. So Franco came on. Franco's a different player, fly half, very tactical, can punish you with his kicking and then his ball distribution. Bobby came off the bench as well, so he made a huge impact as well. So, and that's what was good, with Bobby coming off the bench, he made such a huge impact. I remember even the game in Ellis Park, he came off the bench as well, and he scored a try, I think, in the middle of the pitch. He made a beautiful run, and that is what made Bobby so good. I mean, it's off the bench, that impact that he had off the bench. It was just unbelievable. I think he was a better player off the bench than a starting lineup. So because he made such an impact from off the bench. But yeah, it was great winning the TriNations, especially after the losing against the Lions in '97. And we were just on the upswing, and to crown it all, we took the TriNations, which was great.
It was a hell of a year for you, because that was also the year you won the Currie Cup.
Correct, yeah. So 98, we won the Currie Cup, and then obviously the TriNations as well. So yeah, 98 was a good year for me.